2022, and may your month be absolutely blooming great. Hey, for those that don't know me, my name is Frank Ferragine, aka Frankie Flowers of City TV's Breakfast Television and, of course, City Line, four-time best-selling garden author. You can join me Monday through Fridays on Breakfast Television, where I tell you about the weather and also I give you some great garden advice. Of course, you can check out my website, frankieflowers.com, as well. My family garden centers, Bradford Greenhouses Garden Gallery. There's two. One in Bradford, one in Barrie, always growing for you. And it's a great time. It's a great time, and I'm excited. I'm actually super excited to be here, number one, today. I'm excited for the month of May. I'm excited for better weather. Things are growing. I actually cut my lawn for the first time this weekend as well. I'm going to get a little ambitious this week, and I think I'm going to start growing some different things. Good morning to Tanya, who's, look at this, Tanya's joining us this morning. She was on just a couple of weeks ago. She is in Germany today, checking out some different things. So good morning. I hope you're safe there in Germany as well. We also have a good morning this morning from Pietro. Good morning to you, my friend, as well. And then there's a good morning this morning as well from Angus, and that's Cheryl Jackson. But Angus, good morning to you. So I'm going to be ambitious this week, and I think I'm going to start doing some different things in my vegetable garden. I'm going to get out there and start to plant some cool crops. Those cool crops that I will be planting this weekend from transplants will be some of my lettuces, my leaf lettuce and my red leaf, as well as I'll probably put in some kale. I have the troughs, so I don't really have the space to grow broccoli and or cabbage. But if you wanted to, you could do that as well this week. I'm probably going to sow in a row of some spinach, and I'm going to sow in a couple rows of radishes as well because it is still cool. So we can't do tomatoes and peppers outdoors yet. But we can get a jump start, and if we have to cover those maybe a few times, we're totally fine. You could do some chives, you could do some onions, you could sow some carrots. As long as the ground's not soaking wet, you can get out there and do those. There's also a good morning this morning from sunny Montreal, from Carolyn. We got a good morning as well from Bowmanville, Ontario as well. We also have another good morning this morning from Star. Good morning from Toronto. Good morning to you guys as well. Okay. Here we go. Here's another question that we have. Sue Elliott. Good morning. I started Cherokee purple tomatoes on your recommendation. I can't wait for that toasted sandwich. Cherokee purple heirloom tomatoes. Heirloom tomatoes, you cannot beat them, especially those Cherokee purple. The flavor, unbelievable. So I'm excited for you too, Sue, to get those going as well. Good morning from Ancaster, where I guess you already guys have some rain that has moved its way into Ancaster. We do have some showers in store for today. So if by chance you're thinking about fertilizing the lawn, good morning from Belmont. Today's a good day to fertilize because you get that rain after that waters it in. Perfect. Good morning this morning from Penetanguishene as well. Here we go. Just a while as well. Good morning from Janetville. I was just saying yesterday about planting onions and radishes in Janetville in Eastern Ontario. And indeed, yeah, it's the time to start, guys. We're May the 1st. So next week, we are a week away from Mother's Day, right? So we got to think about mom right now too. What are some things that we can do for mom? If your mom has a garden, you know, sometimes it can be just as simple as going to help her in her garden for Mother's Day, helping her edge, weed. Those are some of the things that I just did the last week as well. My mom's got a renovation going on in her home. She's putting a bathroom on the main floor there so that she can be a little bit easier for her. So this year I got to figure out something to do for mom. I do have to figure out something to do for mom. Good morning from a cold, windy, rainy Coketown, but my garlic is big and growing beautifully. Valerie, indeed, garlic is up right now. What's going to happen in late June to early July? A reminder, you'll start to get those garlic scapes. The garlic scapes are what look like a little spin and almost like a little bulb that forms on the top. You're going to make sure that you remove those scapes. Removing those scapes will size up your bulb in the bottom, but those garlic scapes, you know, you can cook them in butter and oil. They're very beautiful, or you can even pickle them. Pickled garlic scapes are actually really quite amazing. This one here, good morning from that was the same one that we had. We got a good morning from Innisfil, Dominica. Good morning, Frank. When can I plant my dahlia bulbs? So Connie, if you want, you can plant your dahlia bulbs now indoors in pots. I still wouldn't plant dahlia bulbs because they're a warmer type crop that would really suffer if we did get some colder snap of weather, which I'm thinking we still in this next week. The overnight lows are all above freezing, so we can plant cool crops out, but they're still cool enough that they could cause some harms. So if you want to do a direct planting of your dahlia bulbs into the garden, I would wait till May the 15th. or plant them in pots, in potting soil inside your home right now. Get them growing, and then around May the 20th, you can plant them outdoors and you already have a little bit of a jump start. Here we go as well. Fertilized the lawn late yesterday in anticipation of the rain today. Lori Thornton, you are a smart person. There you go. That lawn's going to shoot up like crazy as well. Good morning, Frankie from Windsor, says Susan Staples. Good morning from Quebec. Can I grow lavender? And Temiskaming, Quebec. So lavender will grow well in a zone 5. I'm not too certain of your zone there. There are several different varieties of lavender. There are some more cold hardy varieties of lavender. Lavender grows in, it's usually a Mediterranean type plant that likes a well-drained soil. So as long as your soil is well-drained, you're above a zone 5. So that means you live in a zone 5, 6, 7, 8 or more. I think it would be a little bit tricky for you there, Lenora, but look at some other lavender hardy varieties, winter hardy varieties of lavender as well. Here's another little shout out to Denise Trout. Blue Mountain is colder temperatures. So what is the best plant? We don't generally plant at the same point as others. So as soon as you're higher in elevation, you're going to be colder. So Blue Mountain, which is on the Niagara Escarpment, on top of the mountains, a higher elevation, but down by Georgian Bay, you're a little bit warmer. That's why you have a lot of apples that grow in that area as well. It really depends on Mother Nature. Generally, as a rule of thumb, May 2-4 weekend is the planting weekend because it's usually frost-free thereafter. But often, even in Blue Mountain, you can have, especially the Dundalk Highlands, you could have frost into June. So it really depends. If you want to be totally safe, wait for that first weekend in June or that last weekend in May to be totally safe overall. So that's for Denise. Here's another question. Good morning, Frankie. Question regarding stock tank gardens. How much soil would you put into the tank? Not sure if you have to fill the whole tank. Using for a veggie garden. Thank you. That's for Patricia. Patricia. So the stock tanks, what I would do is I generally fill the bottom. So I pull the drain plug off the side of the tank. So there's a drain plug on the side. I'll drill additional holes into the base of that stock tank. Then what I'll do in the bottom is I'll either take grower pots, so some larger grower pots, and I'll flip them upside down and put them in the base. That improves even drainage and takes up some of that soil mass. I'll at least fill that up with 2/3 full of soil, leaving the bottom third either where you could put something like, you could even put blocks of wood if you wanted to do some chopped wood in the bottom of them. I did that for one as well. That's improving drainage. You don't have to use as much soil, and you're going to be good. So I hope that helps you with that question. They get really heavy once you fill them. So just a reminder about that as well. Here we go with another question. My Cherokee purple tomatoes are about 4 inch tall in 4 inch pots. Should I transplant them into an 8 inch pot and then into a huge pot outdoors? They're about 4 inches in height right now. They'll be totally fine in your 4 inch pot. You could just probably do a direct plant from that 4 inch pot into that huge pot outdoors. From going to a 4 to an 8 inch, it actually could be too big for it. I would just let it go and continue. And what you want to do now that it's at 4 inches is you want to start allowing it to slightly dry out in between waterings. That'll actually strengthen that stem. You also would like to put it in a room that's fairly bright, even light. If you see that it's stretching one way, spin the pot so that you're evening out the light. On warmer days, put it outdoors in part sun to start hardening it off, and then bring it in at night. And then you'll adjust it and it'll be great for you overall. There you go. I wintered my bougainvillea, says Barb, in the basement. When can I put it outside? And do I just really fertilize it? So the bougainvillea, you're going to be putting, that's also something that doesn't like frosty conditions. So depending upon where you live, it's when we get that frost-free weather. Some areas it's May the 15th, some it's the 20th of May, some it's June the 1st. Really pay attention to the forecast, the overnight lows. As long as that overnight low is consistently over 5 plus 5, then you're going to be pretty good for that bougainvillea overall. When you do put it outdoors, I would recommend you put it to part sun first, then over and let it sit in part sun for about 5 to 6 days, like a week, and then move it over to full sun. From going to the basement, going directly outdoors into full sun can actually scorch and burn the plant. So you got to make sure that you're doing that as well, nice and safe. We have another good morning this morning from Aurelia. Good morning to you. Good morning from Victoria Harbor, not far from Aurelia as well. And Teresa's saying good morning as well. It's Teresa from Milton. We have another good morning. We're shouting out to all the little communities in Niagara Falls. This is another shout out as well from Jen. My garlic is growing so well too. That's great. Garlic fall plant. So if you're thinking about growing garlic, you're going to be planting that late fall, and then it comes up in the spring. You remove the scape, which is that spinny kind of thing that has a little bulb on it. That's in late June, early July, and then harvesting in late August, early September. Garlic, great to grow. There's some of the Russian hardy varieties that are probably the better varieties to grow overall as well. I'm gonna get a drink of water here. When should we split or cut the root bulbs of hydrangea? I think mine are getting out of control. You can't divide a hydrangea. You can take a cutting from a hydrangea, right? But you cannot divide a hydrangea. Generally, the hydrangea is one root ball that creates a shrub, and that shrub can be quite big. We can prune the hydrangea, and depending upon the variety, we can prune it to restrict its size. So I would use pruning as a technique versus splitting and or dividing. It is a shrub, a flowering shrub. Flowering shrubs cannot be divided. You actually will kill the plant, whereas perennials can be divided. If by chance some of those side shoots have actually grown down and rooted in, then those side shoots can then be snipped off, and then you can create some more hydrangeas that way. You can actually even take the stem, the exterior stem of a hydrangea, and pin it into the soil. And then within about 6 to 8 weeks, you can look down to where that was pinned into the soil. And often you'll see that root systems develop. You can cut it there, boom, you got a new plant. You can do that with euonymus quite easily as well. We got good morning from Oshawa. There was another shout out there from Windsor this morning too. Judy, good morning to you. We also have another shout out this morning from Nobleton, from Mary, from where I am this morning. Connie, good morning from Bradford. I am here too. Here we go. This is another question. Is basil better in the shade, says Teresa Orlando? Basil needs to be in sun. It needs direct full sun to do and thrive very well. However, basil does not like to be in a windy location. So if it can be in a sunny location protected from the winds, that's when your basil is going to do well. If you had problems or challenges in growing basil in the past, I should have moved my mic closer. There we go. And moving basil and growing basil in the past, I recommend growing the tower and or columnar basil. It's a much more easy, simple basil. And then there are some more American selection varieties that have come out, the AAS. If you ever see that on a tag, usually pretty good varieties that you have as well. I'm not gapping the one variety that's an AAS one as well. Shelly Johnson, good morning. Just fertilized. Can I put Grub Begone down now too? Yes, you can. I was doing some work out in my own garden, digging around, and I easily found some grubs. So now that I know the grubs are nice closer to the surface, that's when we can treat with the Grub Begone. Grub Begone, ideally, wait for it to start to rain for a bit and then apply it down. Because if you already have a wet lawn, you apply the grub control down and then it rains thereafter again. It's the ideal way to get that Bacillus surgentis. That's what's in the Grub Begone that will infect the grub. And by infecting that grub, will kill that grub off or minimize the grub damage that you're going to have in your garden as well. A reminder as well, May the 5th, which is coming up Thursday. Go over to Lowe's Facebook page and you're going to see me on May the 5th talk a lot about container gardening. I'll be building a container on May the 5th alongside of Scott's Miracle Grow and with Lowe's, and we're going to be having a whole session there. I'll make sure that we put links, and there's actually a link on this Facebook page. If you're following me on Facebook, look at that there. We got some love hearts this morning as well from Susan Staples and a little bit of namaste. Namaste to you as well. I'm actually going to probably do a yoga class sometime today. I've been doing a lot of Pilates and yoga, and the reason being is just for flexibility. I'm finding that sitting, driving, or other things that I've been doing, I've made my hips a little tighter. So I've been doing a lot of flexibility things to make myself feel a little bit better. Good morning, Frankie. With regards to grass seed, there are such a variety of grass seeds. Yes, indeed. What do you recommend for a more rural property that has a sandy base for soil? So most grass seeds that you're seeing for sale at your garden centers, home improvement stores, they're all different names, but they're all generally a blend of grass seed. The blended mixes that you'll see in there are Kentucky bluegrasses, you'll see fescues, and perennial rye. You're looking more for a low maintenance, drought tolerant variety of grass seed. So for instance, Scott's Miracle Grow or Scott's has one variety of grass seed, one brand of grass seed called Tough. Tough is something that would do well in a more drought condition. With sandy based soils, you're not going to want to have a high percentage of Kentucky blue. So make sure no matter what grass seed that you're selecting, when you go to look at the mix of grass seed that's within there. So the ingredients, make sure it has a low percentage of Kentucky blue. The reason why we have a mix of grass seed is that during the season, we have different variations of weather. And based upon the weather, sometimes Kentucky bluegrass will do better. Sometimes the perennial rye will do better. Sometimes the fescues will do better. So you do that nice diversity of grass seed, that mix of grass seed normally, so that no matter the type of weather, you're always going to have a fairly lush and happy and healthy lawn. But with that sandy-based soil, it's a lot of drainage, so it's a drought. You're in a drought situation. I would really recommend for you to improve your soil first. So do a top dressing of soil and then put a low maintenance and or tough variety of grass seed that's down. Okay, there we go. We have another one. Good morning, Marlene in Mississauga. Good morning to you guys. Got lots of shout outs this morning. Hey, we got a good morning from Winnipeg this morning. I was just watching about southern Manitoba and Winnipeg looking to have a flood situation this year along that Red River. So I was just seeing that on the national there. Good morning from Orangeville this morning. We have another one from Newmarket. Is it too early to apply Grub? Be gone. I get determined to get rid of them this year. Go ahead, apply. We just did that as well, Catherine. Make sure that it's watered first and then you water it in. Best way to do it. Good morning from Wasaga Beach. Waiting for things to bloom. Things are starting to bloom, guys. I'm starting to see some of the magnolias on my street are blooming. Forsythia I'm seeing blooming already. Spring flowering bulbs. I went for a walk yesterday. Saw some beautiful spring flowering bulbs blooming. I'm thinking by the end of this week in Toronto, the cherry blossoms will pop out. So I should be there live on breakfast television on Friday. So it's my favorite time of year. I mean, spring is all about rebirth, revival, regrow. And believe me, I want things to start afresh and new this year overall. Good morning from Quebec, says Carol. I always like to say Quebec in that way as well. I have some evergreens with sunburn. It's actually not sunburn. It's called winter burn. The reason why you have that browning on an evergreen at this time of the year, even a broadleaf evergreen like a boxwood, is due to the sun of winter, but also due to the cold winds that pulls moisture away from that plant. So windburn is something that, first off, with that evergreen, you want to shake as much as that brown off as you can possibly. Now things are actively growing. You want to get an evergreen tree and shrub food. You can either get a shake and feed or you can get some fertilizer spikes that you can use for that, and then water, keep it well watered, fertilized, and it should flush out. So there you go. Try to clean them up. Any of that brown and that dead, try to remove it. Then you're going to make sure they're well watered, deeply, and fertilized. And that's the way to get them to recover. Next year, what you can do to prevent that is you use a burlap screen. That burlap screen will shade, protect them from the sun. That burlap screen will shelter them from the wind and should minimize the amount of wind burn that you have, winter burn that you have. That's out there. Okay. Good idea. Sometimes I have good idea, Valerie. Sometimes. I will weed my mom's garden, let her sip sparkling wine. She'll be 90. Wow, that's amazing. And still garden's crazy, but limited. Thanks for the advice. I think it's the perfect gift that you can give for Mother's Day. Mom needs help around her house. So if you can go there and help your mom around the house, my good friend, for instance, Cheryl Hickey, which you probably know from Global, she sent me a message yesterday. She's doing something sweet for her mom that I'm going to try to help her and sister with as well. So some great things that you can do for mom that's out there. So those are some great ideas. Good morning, Frank. I received a bunch of tulips. They're drying or dying. So I want to know if you can take the bulbs and plant them now or wait until fall. Because those are forced tulips that have gone through a plunge period already and been forced indoors. They generally don't bloom ever again. Daffodils tend to do that, but the tulips themselves don't. So my recommendation, even though it's really probably hard for you, Linda, is to actually put them in the big compost pile in the sky. If you don't have a compost pile, put them in your green bin. They'll be circled back into organic matter, and then they'll be enjoyed again in just another way. Here we go. Sorry about that. Sorry, I didn't have better information. Good morning. Can I plant tulips now? Thanks. Tulips are what you plant in the fall. If you wanted to get some of the tulips that are just forced in pots, you can actually put them into your containers or pop them into your garden and enjoy them. But because, as I mentioned, they've gone through a plunge period and been forced indoors, they rarely come back. Daffodils do, but those spring flowering bulbs, daffodils, hyacinths, crocus, tulips, all those spring flowering bulbs are planted in the fall as a bulb and then enjoyed to see in the spring. So that's a fall planting for you guys. Here we go from Bowmanville this morning. I'm in Bowmanville. I'm helping with a memorial garden for residential school victims, which I think is great. Does anyone in this live have suggestions for perennials and shrubs that are native to the area and nice to look at? Thank you. There are a host of native plants that actually have significance when it comes to our indigenous people. I will probably get you some resources that will help you as well. So it depends, of course, where this garden is. Is it in sun and or shade? Because we want to make sure that we're finding native plants that are going to work. You know, Joe Pye weed, which is a great thing that will attract butterflies. There's some great pollinating plants that we can use too that are native to the area. Milkweed is something that comes to mind as well. But others that have significance. There's even a planting technique called the Three Wise Sisters that you could use in this memorial garden, which is the planting of corn. And then beside that corn, you're going to plant a pole bean that grows up the bean. And then underneath, you're going to plant squash. So what happens is the squash actually shades everything, helps. The bean actually puts nitrogen in the soil that helps the corn and squash grow. And then the corn is the support for that bean. Great example of companion planting in a small space. Three Wise Sisters. So I will try to get you. So Brenda, if you can email me, frankie@frankieflowers.com, frankie@frankieflowers.com. I'll get you some resources. There is in Caledonia a greenhouse that's there, a native plant greenhouse that is totally one that will be great focus for you overall. That would really help you out there. Is it too early to cut the lawn? Penny, no. I cut the lawn yesterday. As long as it's actively growing and it's above 3 inches in height, go ahead and cut it. I would totally recommend for you to do that. Here we go as well. Matthew, my grandmother says, hey, too, from Guelph. Matthew, of course. Good morning to you as well. Corn gluten, Carol Jones. Corn gluten, is it time to treat the lawn? You're a little bit late for the treatment of corn gluten. Corn gluten is when the weed seeds are dormant. So now that our temperatures are warming, this would maybe be your last week of putting corn gluten down. Once again, after putting corn gluten down, you can't overseed or seed your lawn for at least 6 weeks. But now I'm seeing weed seeds start to germinate outdoors, and we need to treat those weed seeds before they germinate. So I don't think that corn gluten, applying that right now, would be the best utilization of money and resources. So I would just go to a straight fertilizer and then do an overseeding and then hand remove some of the weeds that you see out there. Valerie, Penny, my husband already cut it twice, but it's pretty dry lawn here, except today rainy again. The only time that you don't want it, you want to stay off your lawn if it's spongy underfoot, because that's when you're going to create compaction. If you're walking on your lawn and it feels like concrete, it feels hard, that's a good indication that you need to aerate that lawn. So aeration is really key. But yeah, you can go ahead and cut the lawn. Can I plant? Marlene, can I plant hydrangeas that are blooming now in the garden? So if they're the potted hydrangeas that you had indoors inside your home, those are forced in a greenhouse. So if we do get cold temperatures at night, those hydrangeas would get damaged from frost. So if we're below that freezing mark, they'll get damaged from frost. You could cover them, or you could just plant them pot and all in the garden. And if we get a cold night, shift them back indoors. Those tend to come back and just give you foliage. You don't generally get as much flower as what you normally do, as what you have them as now. There are better varieties that you can plant in your garden that will do better. Like, I'm a fan of Limelights, Little Lamb's Ears, Quickfire Hydrangea, Incredible. Those are all really great varieties that are out there as well. If you have grub, should you use Scott's Grub Begone or nematodes? When should this be done? You can use either or. In terms of my, I work with Scott's, full disclosure, but if I was to compare the nematodes and the application method of nematodes, is a little bit more technical. Nematodes come in a sponge. You got to then dilute that sponge into water and then put it into a watering canister. And then it's a little bit more work. Whereas the Grub Begone, great product, just as effective, if not more effective than nematodes. It's one that you can put in a spreader. So I go to Grub Begone because of ease of application and effectiveness. So, but I also work for them, just to let you know. Here we go as well. Good morning. Is it too early to place flowers in planters? Depends on the flowers, Michelle. If you want to do some pansies, osteospermums, some snapdragons, those guys can all take cooler temperatures. If you're thinking about impatiens, petunias, even some of the geraniums, they don't like the cooler temperatures. So wait till about the 15th to 20th of May before you do that. So, okay. So if you have grubs, that's the question that we already had this morning. This is from Jen. She's replying. And that's the nice thing, guys. If you're joining me the first time here and you're joining me and saying, hey, this is great. Well, you're a part of a community. And that community that's on here is we're all trying to help people with their gardens. So you can see the amount of questions I got. I can't answer all the questions. So if you know some of the answers to the questions, hop on there in the comments and then comment to those questions and let's share that advice. Okay, let's share. If you're a gardening club that has a plant sale, let me know. Frankie at frankieflowers.com. I'll post it on my Facebook page. You already see the one from Richmond Hill that's coming up. If you have any garden and or horticultural events that are coming up, let me know. I'm here to help and I'm here to get people going. I love Siberian Iris. They are so pretty. Irises, as a matter of fact, to me are like the orchids of gardens. And as you know, I work with Royal Botanical Gardens. I'm actually on the board of directors. I'm excited to see their collection of irises. I'm actually touring the gardens at RBG on Tuesday. Tuesday, I'll be at RBG touring the gardens. Okay, here we go with another one. When can nematodes be used? Thanks, Carolyn. Nematodes can be used now as well, now that grubs are a little bit higher in the surface. So we can be treating nematodes, and you can be using the treatment of nematodes now all the way through into September. Same with Grub Be Gone. There is a new product that's going to be called Beetle Be Gone that as well that can be used to treat the adult stages of beetles that are out there. Another reminder, if you're hearing information this year about spongy moss are gypsy moss, but just been renamed to spongy moss, just for a little bit of a name change, which we're seeing everywhere right now, our name changes. We got a good morning from Scarborough. Good morning from Ajax, this is Carol. Good morning from St. Catharines. We got another one, Nancy from Oshawa. Here's Olivia. And Olivia has a question. When is a good time to plant herbs? Should I start them inside now? So Olivia, I would just go and do transplants, especially if you're a first-time gardener. If you want to grow some herbs in pots, you can actually put them outdoors and bring them indoors on cool nights. Some of the cooler type perennials, herbs that will do well outdoors, even if it's a little bit cooler. Parsley will be fine. Your rosemary can take a little bit of coolness. Mint can take coolness. If you're growing mint, always grow mint inside a container. Always grow it inside a container because mint can become a dramatically invasive plant that's out there. Basil is something that doesn't want to be outdoors when it's cool. So you're going to wait until the end of May before you're putting your basil outdoors. Basil or basil. Good morning from lovely Tobamori this morning. Here's another good morning. This is from Tracy. What is your favorite medium to tall shade-loving plant? So that would be some of the ferns. There's nothing like an ostrich fern in the backdrop of a shade garden. I just love the way the wind blows and the different foliage. And then in the front of that, you can plant some different hosta varieties and different astilbes. And then in the front of those, then you can put a little bit of some impatiens for color. That'll give you that constant sizzle of color. There's Solomon seal, there's a variegated Solomon seal, which is quite nice as well. I mentioned Joe Pye weed. It's a little bit bigger plant, a little bit more weedy, but really almost every shade garden that I create, I put a backdrop of ostrich ferns because they're just so beautiful overall and easy. They're super easy as well. Carol Sweeney. Hey, good morning, Carol. Good morning from Ajax. The tips you give are so helpful. Thank you. That's why I'm here. I actually quite look forward to every week being here and just saying good morning from people from all over Canada, all over Ontario, and sometimes all over the world. Like we have somebody named Tanya this morning, my good friend Tanya, joining us from Germany. And that's the neat thing, is that you can join us from everywhere. I'm hoping to bring this outside when the season gets a little bit better too, so that we can show you some other things. Is it better to grass seed lawn first and then wait some time before fertilizing, or can you mix them together and put them on the lawn at the same time? You could mix them together and put them on the lawn at the same time. If you're looking to thicken the lawn and give it a little bit of a fertilizing and you don't have a tremendously large lawn, take a look at the Scott's 911 lawn response. And the reason why I bring that up is it actually is a grass seed, a mulch, and a fertilizer. And it can thicken a lawn. My back lawn at my new home, it wasn't a tremendously large space. It was horrible. And this spring, I only just worked on it last season. This spring, it is thick. It's amazing how great that simple solution, put it in a spreader, can work out for you. But you can do them at the same time. No problem whatsoever. Just a reminder, lawn seed doesn't germinate until we get a temperature of 15 to 20 degrees consistently. And that's the soil temperature. Our soil temperatures are starting to get near and close to that, but you can still even hold off to seeding your lawn until next weekend or even the weekend thereafter. We got a good morning neighbor, Rhonda. Good morning, neighbor. Hope all is well. How can I get my grass to grow? It's really thin. If it's compacted soil, aerate. That will allow moisture, nutrients to get down in. Then you're going to overseed. And then on top of that, a little bit of top dressing of soil. The seed just needs to make contact with the soil. You don't need to put a lot of soil on top. Even just broadcasting seed over soil, that's about all you need. Also, I said that Lawn Response 911, fantastic product. And instead of doing all those different steps, you aerate your lawn if it's compacted. If not, you just let it be. Then you just, in a spreader, apply that Scott's 911 before rain or water your lawn, and your lawn will be fertilized, overseeded, and you'll have a little bit of mulch there for that soil contact to help everything grow overall. So there you go, Rhonda. Can I split hostas now? Yeah, of course. Splitting hostas right now is the best time because those eyes of those hostas have just come up. So it's easier to work with that plant. And then when you go to lift that whole root ball, as long as you have 3 eyes, when you divide it, you have 3 to 5 eyes per section. That's going to be a nice section. So 3 to 5 eyes per section. So we're at 31 minutes this morning. I usually like to give you guys a half an hour of my day on my Sunday, on my day off. But this is my way that I can always give to you. There's Rhonda again. Let's say a good morning here. We'll do one last good morning shout out from Ann. Good morning. Enjoy your Sunday from Penatag. And I hope all of you enjoy your Sunday as well. I hope I allowed you, inspired you to garden a little bit this weekend or this upcoming week. I hope I answered your questions. If you have any additional questions, you can always reach me on all the different social media platforms, as well as my website, frankieflowers.com. Have a blooming good day. And a reminder, gardening is always, always better than therapy. Why is gardening better than therapy? Because it makes us feel good and we get tomatoes. I love tomatoes. I even have a tomato salad today. I like a good tomato salad with some feta. Or maybe I'm going to have a tomato salad with bocconcini because I am the real